There we are. Was thinking about it. Was thinking about it. There it goes. All right. YouTube's taking its own sweet time tonight.
Excellent.
Oh, welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 192, your once weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
I'm Rhett.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday night to view the two-time world champion as far as Talking Heads viewers goes over there in Rhett. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, usually some Star Trek if you couldn't tell by the background. Did I mention podcast form? I don't think I did. Thanks for watching the show or catching us on the replay in podcast form over on Anchor.fm or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. We do drink alcohol on the show, and if you are drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, please let us know in the chat, and we'll give some shout-outs as we go along. All super chats are read on the air so long as they don't demonetize me. And if you'd like to join the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Patreon or Float Plane. Links are both down in the video description. It'll get you exclusive access to my Discord server where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and keep the conversation going with the awesome and ever-growing community that hangs out there.
Well said. Well spoken.
It's a little bit better and a little bit worse every time.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's right. I used to say that about New Image Day whenever I was creating new reference images for Windows. Every image that I do, it gets a little bit better and something gets a little bit worse. And anyone who's ever done Windows imaging knows exactly that.
That's just the state of the universe, you know? It's like the ship of Theseus, you know?
Yep. Sorry,
Ship's
notes coming in from the producer.
That's all right. Breaking news. This just in.
Yeah.
We've got beers to drink is what is just in.
That's right. The dogs decided to chase the cat up the stairs at the same time. All right. I'm back now. We do indeed have some beers to drink. A couple of these come courtesy of Novella Hub. He sent me a quite generous beer shipment this last month, and I'm finally starting to dig into a lot of them. Let's see. First off, I have Now I Am Death, Destroyer of Worlds from Adroit Theory, which has some pretty fantastic can art on it.
Nice.
This is a 10% triple IPA. Really can't wait to dig into that one. I'll probably start with that one. Next up, we have Max's Addiction. Excuse me. This is from Infusion Brewing Company in Omaha, Nebraska. And forgive me, I don't remember who sent this one over, but someone sent this one out as well. This is a 6.2% Toffee Bar Milk Stout. So it should be a nice, interesting one. And then for a nightcap, I've got from Indeed Brewing, also sent by Novella Hub, The Queen, Whiskey Barrel-Aged Imperial Stout. This is a 10.5%. So I'm going to let this one get to room temperature before I crack into it. What you got over there in your neck of the woods?
Excellent. Yeah, well, I'm going to be starting things off with, it's a bit of an Oregon staple. We got some Deschutes Brewing here, and I've got the Fresh Haze IPA.
Oh, yes.
It's a classic, but I was working outside in the heat, and this beer is refreshing. So
one of my favorite cold opens to any of my episodes ever was the Fresh Squeeze IPA from Deschutes, where I picked it off of my apple tree.
It's so good. I love it.
That is a good one. All right. I think I'm going to crack open this Now I Am Death, Destroyer of Worlds triple IPA. And again, if you are drinking along with us, let us know in the chat. And as soon as this wonderful looking beer finishes pouring, I'll give some shout outs.
Already getting called out for no Rainier.
No Rainier? Is this really a Rhett show? People gotta have their...
Y'all like to tease me for the Rainier, but number one, baby.
It's true. Although I'm pretty sure on the 2 episodes that you were number 1, you were drinking some craft along with me. So
I got to go back and look. I should have taken that into consideration. I just saw the flashy sweater and knew that was like ingredient numero uno.
Yeah. Oh God, was that the red beer episode? Oh, I hope not.
Oh, one of them was.
One of them might have been.
Dude.
Trying to think of when that was. Yeah.
Oh man, I needed the red beer. It was awesome.
Oh, all right. We got Rev chiming in. He's having some Belching Beaver, pineapple, and mango hard seltzer. I didn't know Belching Beaver had any hard seltzer yet. I hadn't seen any. So very cool. Drinking Pepsi Max. Sorry. No sorry needed. Nothing at all there. I'm at work, so it's pretty much the only time I am awake for this ever. Thomas, thank you for joining us on the show. Glad you could finally make a live show. Wake Brewing, all gas, no brakes, triple IPA. That sounds delicious. Listening while I'm drinking water. That's from Com. As long as they don't demonetize me. Well, that rules Big Spoon out from Cold Drip Gaming. Yep. And gosh, who was was it Vlad who always chimed in with the street safe tips? We'll read Vlad if he super chats. Let's see. Yatri's drinking a Lapsang Sochang, cold brewed for the heat.
That's the tea that Patrick Stewart wanted Picard to have, but they were like, right. That's not British enough or whatever, so so they had him go with Earl Grey, which I hear he didn't really like in real life, but he agreed anyway. It sounded punchier.
It sounds very British. It's very distinguished gentleman-y tea.
Yeah, the Lapsang Souchong though, that's like they smoke it over pine wood, so it has like a real smoky flavor. It's really good.
How do I not know about that?
Because it's not easy to find. Like Stash, you used to be able to go to like some of the more off the wall grocery stores.
Yeah.
And they would have it all the time, and you could buy it just like you could Earl Grey from Stash or Twinings rather. Twinings is who I'm thinking of, but now you can't ever find it anywhere. You have to order it on Amazon or order it online somewhere.
Speaking of, here's a 1 pound bag of Stash tea Lapsang Sochang for $21 on Amazon.
That's not bad. A pound? Nice.
Pound.
I dig it. Yeah, it's really good stuff. It's really pungent if you're not used to it, but it was for like a few years the only tea that I drank because I wasn't drinking coffee and I was kind of sick of like green tea.
Yeah.
And so this kind of had that strong flavor to go along with it. It was Winston Churchill's tea of choice as well.
Okay. I think I've heard, I know I've heard the name, but I've never heard anyone describe what it was. And I do like tea, but I usually just go with like a straight up black tea or something like that. I don't really experiment with it. I do like tea. Yeah. But it's nothing I've gotten into the weeds with.
You'd probably enjoy it. The smokiness really reminds me of how they do like Lagavulin, if you've had Lagavulin.
Yeah.
I think which is also pine wood smoked. I don't know. Maybe not.
You know what? Here's a 3 ounce starter. So I think I'm going to do that. It's only $7. So if I don't like it, I'm not stuck with a full pound of it.
There you go.
But it'll be here tomorrow.
Sweet. Enjoy.
I'm literally buying it while I'm sitting here. There we go.
If you have to measure it yourself, make sure that you measure it appropriately.
Yes. Yeah, it's loose leaf.
Yeah. Make sure you measure it appropriately or you might not like it.
All right. Now that I've ordered some tea.
What a way to start off the show.
We can continue the show. Let's see. What else we got here? Nice price. Flying Fish Abbey Belgian Ale. Always love a good Abbey. Let's see. Teeling Whiskey, small batch, rum cask from 2018. That's Patrick Cooper. I've been really digging a lot of the rum cask finish whiskeys as of late. Gosh, who was one of the Caribbean cask? Tullamore Dew. Tullamore Dew has a fantastic one. That's a rum finish, barrel-aged Scott or Irish whiskey, and been really digging that one. In fact, I basically I can turn that into like a rum style old fashioned, and it's just amazing. A little bit of pineapple, a little bit of cardamom bitters, and that thing just, it's so good. Dang it! Now I'm wanting to. Now I'm wanting an old fashioned. All right, let's go ahead and get into the news. Starting with, we'll start with the top story because this one I have some strong opinions on. Rant alert is on standby. But this is according to Kotaku, and in fact, a couple of different news outlets picked it up. But a man has been arrested in Japan for selling modded Breath of the Wild save files. Let me repeat that. A man, 27 years old, has been arrested in Japan for selling modded Breath of the Wild save files. Now, Japan does have a law called the Unfair Competition Prevention Act, or Prevention Law. And what it is designed to do is prevent the sale of modified save files or cheats or exploits in the breadth of the online gaming community. So things like exploits for, let me see if I can find my mouse there so I can drag that off of your face. There we go. Exploits for like CSGO or Apex Legends, or, you know, go down the list of popular online multiplayer competitive games. Yeah, it's against the law to distribute those. I still disagree. I disagree with their use, but I also disagree that you shouldn't be able to cheat in like local games. And so I have a hard time looking at people who make cheats and trainers and things like that and going, you're breaking the law. No.
Well, especially because, like, aside from the quote describing it as the quote unquote strongest software,
yeah,
you know, I want to know what he's doing, because people do this here in the States for MMOs where they'll grind a character to max level and then sell the account to somebody that wants it.
Right.
So is this guy getting Breath of the Wild and then just grinding the game and giving it to people who aren't good enough to get all the heart containers or to get,
I'm assuming,
all the...
but let me show you something here. So this is an online Breath of the Wild save editor that I just imported one of my Breath of the Wild saves into. And look, I can modify how many rupees I have. I can add weapons. I can do all kinds of fun stuff.
They got everything.
Right. So I can visit all the map locations. I can clear my map pins. Let's go into the weapon editor. So here's the weapons I currently have. I can set attack rating. So let's say I want to set attack 50. All of a sudden that broadsword's going to hit for 80 points instead of, 32 or whatever it happened to be. So I can also replace the weapons. Let's say I don't want a guardian sword. Let's say I want a soldier's broadsword instead. I can change all that kind of stuff on the fly. I can add weapons. Let's be clear. This is a single player game. Now, there are competitive spaces for Breath of the Wild as far as speedrunning goes, but speedrunning moderates itself. The communities themselves moderate the actions and what gets published and what gets approved. And I'm not saying cheating doesn't happen, but it's a self-policing system. And typically with speedruns, you're going to know pretty quick if someone modded in 10,000 rupees and a overpowered, royal broadsword. Not difficult to figure out. But it's a single player game. And first off, shame on anyone who went out and paid money for a modded file. Their Google foo is no good because this modifier is the first thing you come up with when you search Breath of the Wild save. Like this editor.
So I'm, just because, I'm trying to read the fine print of this article here.
Mm-hmm.
Kotaku is pretty vague on some specifics of the details and injects like a fair bit of opinion into it, which I think is fine. But I'm
it's
not
definitely an editorial piece. Yeah,
I'm definitely not defending police. No, sir. Right. Like, especially for something like this. But I wonder if the issue is because he was charging for something and maybe like misleading people for something that they could just Google and find for free. Like, because I'm reading the law right now.
Mm-hmm.
And in like the second main paragraph there, it says that, he was arrested for maybe violating the unfair competition prevention law.
Yeah.
And when you click on that and read through it a little bit, number one is causing confusion with a party's widely known indication of goods or business.
Mm-hmm. Go away.
So like, I could see how that could maybe be construed as confusion,
Right.
Misleading consumers as to the quality of goods. They're like, oh, well, the game's not good enough. I don't know. I'm not defending something as frivolous as this.
Yeah.
But like, I wonder if the issue is that he's charged for it,
and it very much could be, but even then now I'm not a lawyer and I certainly don't practice in Japan. That still feels like really shaky ground to make an arrest on.
I mean, it's really hard for me to get my point across through all my bootlicking over here, but it's just, I don't even know why I'm on this, but it's just like, I'm just like, man, guy, maybe you could have been a little bit more clandestine about it. I don't know. But I guess he's on some sort of third-party auction site or something. I don't know. The opinion at the bottom is one that I don't disagree with. It's like, maybe they should be focusing on dangerous crimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. This got Nintendo like death grip of their IP written all over it.
It really, this feels like Nintendo Gestapo.
Right.
This feels like the Apple police. This feels like, which, by the way, Apple has their own internal police that they hire private investigators to go out and investigate, and then they submit charges to the police departments, and they go out and make arrests based on leaks and everything else. That's an actual thing. In fact, when was it? 2013 or something like that. San Francisco police raided the apartment of an individual who had leaked information about an iPhone. Right. Like, yeah.
I mean, intellectual like property crimes like should probably never be enforced by police to begin with. Mm-hmm. Like that, leave that for the courts.
It feels like a civil matter, right?
Right. Yeah. Like, when the police get involved, it sort of like enforces this idea that the police are just like common soldiers for rich corporations to separate the poor from the rich. Which opens up its own whole bag of work. So again, I don't know why I was defending. I was just parsing through this. So I'm like, there's got to be more to it than just. Do have a super chat that touches on it from Mike Farino. Could it be because of piracy? Did he potentially sell it to people who didn't actually own the game? And the article I find to be lacking in specific information, but it does sort of mention that it's just modified save files.
Correct. And like I said, the one area where Nintendo might have a little bit of a standing in this, because again, I'm assuming it is Nintendo bringing charges on the individual under the pretense of this law, is that by providing items in the game that a player otherwise hadn't or earned or obtained in the game yet, that they are infringing on some intellectual property, where like by giving, they say, did they give the example of giving a player the Master Sword early when the player hadn't earned the 13 hearts to be able to pull the Master Sword out of the shrine. That somehow that's infringing on Nintendo's IP because the player would not have otherwise seen that action, or like it's still shaky as all.
I could sort of see it, like, kind of talking about that confusion thing I was talking about, because that's why you see, like, that's kind of why you see, like, why Elsa Gate is such a big problem. Not because, like, people making stupid videos of, like, Spider-Man injecting web fluid into Elsa is, like, somehow, like, morally or ethically
I'm not
wrong.
aware of those videos.
Well, I just did it. I think we've talked about it on the show before. I've done, like, the weird Wikipedia, like, golf. Okay, well, whatever. But
what I was saying is I haven't seen that particular one.
Oh, so. I don't know. God. Anyway, the whole point being is that, like, I could see why a franchise who, or rather, like, a corporation who specifies their audience is like children would want that to go away, because it's like it is confusing their brand to their audience in a way, because, like, especially because those videos have a tendency of popping up on, like, the kid YouTube algorithm,
right?
And it's, like, pretty weird. And so anyway, that whole kind of, like, brand confusion aspect, I can sort of see, like Nintendo's like, well, that's not our game is about this, and if you don't get that experience, then you're confusing our brand with something that represents something lesser than what Nintendo offers.
Yeah,
so,
but why on the flip side has Game Shark been such a popular thing over the decades for injecting essentially the same code, essentially just modifying the hex code of what your game interprets to bend the game to your will?
Yeah,
I mean,
well, I think the Game Shark thinks too, like, at least with, like, a Game Genie, I think it was they tapped into the developers' tools, like aspects of code that the developers had left in order to aid them in, like, QA.
No, actually, what the Game Genies do is they modify hexadecimal values in the game file, and so basically they're looking at the live memory. And Game Shark did the same thing. Cheat Engine does the same thing, and most game trainers for PC. So trainers that you would download to get, like, infinite health and unlimited money kind of thing. All those are doing is looking at the hexadecimal values in a certain location in memory and modifying those values. And so all of a sudden, instead of reading, 20 health, you can read 100 health. And if you make sure that modifier that value never changes from 100 health, now you're invincible. Or you can find the location where you have the value assigned for money, and you can say, oh, I don't have 500 money, I have 50 million money. And how is modifying a save file any different from that aspect, which is open and readily accepted?
That's a good point. I think Kren has the most compelling idea here in the super chat. He says, or they say, could it have been they sold save files which gave you access to DLC only features? I don't know if Breath of the Wild has DLC.
It does. There are a number of DLCs. Some of them are just cosmetic items. Some of them are additional quests. Now,
Gotcha.
it's pretty lame DLC if you ask me.
Nintendo hasn't cracked the code yet.
Right. Yeah. It's somewhere a half step above horse armor. But no, that is a great point, that I don't know if by using a modified save file it would give you access to the DLC. I'm not familiar with that on Switch. Kotaku didn't mention that, but that certainly could be an aspect to this that we're not privy to. And if that's the case, I think Nintendo does have a case.
Yeah. I think my main criticisms here are not in defense of the Nintendo Gestapo or anything. I think it's more of this Kotaku piece, which is feels like a poor piece of journalism that we're left with this much to debate afterwards.
It definitely does. It was written in an editorial style with what feels like a couple of details left out.
Yeah, that's okay though. Honestly, I've written way worse, and I'm not posting on Kotaku, so I'm not trying to knock the author too hard. It's just one of those things that
I'm a published reviewer, so far be it from me to criticize someone else's work.
Well, anyway, that was a fun conversation. Interesting to see how it evolves, and I hope that Ichimin Show is exonerated of this garbage.
So long as he is actually innocent of any crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here I am. Look, I could work for Kotaku.
You could. By the way, again, thank you, Mike and Kren, for the super chats. They are very much appreciated. Okay. What else do we have tonight?
Oof. Blasting through this beer.
Yeah. By the way, how's yours?
It's good. It's, it's Deschutes. I mean, this is like Oregon domestic here,
Yeah.
It's the same every time you open it, and that's like sort of the beauty.
Yes.
But yeah, I love it.
It's an easy drinker.
It's 6.5%. I saw
6.5?
Rev say that. Yeah, but it says here on the label.
Rev put on there. Yeah, I thought Fresh Squeeze was a little higher. Okay.
Yeah, I just assumed maybe he like saw the 4 on the IBU and was like trying to be all slick, and I wasn't going to correct him. It felt like the moment had passed. So, and I didn't want to be that guy that's like, "Hey Rev, we're going to 6.5. Okay, can you go ahead and change that? This isn't a Rainier night."
That's for later.
Yeah, exactly.
This one, Now I Am Become Death, or Now I Am Death, Destroyer of Worlds.
Become Death is the true
yeah,
quote.
Yeah, Now I Am Become Death, Destroyer of Worlds. I keep wanting to say that because that's what the quote is.
Yeah.
Very pineapple. Very, very pineapple. And I really like pineapple, so this is right up my alley.
Yeah. You even like it on pizza, don't you?
I do. Oh, I love pineapple on pizza.
Good for you.
We had pizza last night. We got Papa Murphy's. I got a 5-meat stuffed crust, or 5-meat Chicago style. They don't call it Chicago style anymore. They just call it stuffed because I guess Chicago got pissed off. No, we got a 5-meat stuffed, and I always add pineapple to it. And that's the way to eat that pizza.
Good for you. That sounds like the way to eat it. I applaud you. On the topic of a war against those who don't like pineapple on their pizza, we welcome you to our ranks.
We welcome you. I'm sure those same people don't like IPAs either. So it's,
Well, hey. I mean, I guess I'm drinking an IPA right now, so.
You know what? I bet Andy from eTechnics doesn't like pineapple on his pizza or IPAs.
That's probably a good point.
We went on a pretty long tangent on that on Twitter today about different people chiming in.
That's what I thought you were going for, because I had chimed in and been like, bro, it's okay if you don't like IPAs. Like, we're still hot on the heels of the era of IPA where they were like, how bitter can we make this, and how hoppy can we make this?
Yeah.
And there was
how
no,
high
like,
can we crank that IBU?
Yeah, there was like no nuance to it. And like 10 years ago, that's what IPAs were. It was like the better the IPA, the hoppier. Mm-hmm. And now you actually have a lot of like nuance to the IPAs, and
there are so many styles that are rounding out so nicely.
Yeah.
If you go back just a couple of years when hazies started becoming, the huge craze, right about the start of my channel is when hazies like, oh, have you tried our new hazy?
Yeah. Because we go down to John's all the time, and oh, well, you should try this hazy,
Yeah.
Hazy? What's a hazy?
It was the thing.
Yeah.
It was the new upcoming craze, and hazies have had their growing pains. I mean, for a while it was how acidic and lactose filled can we possibly make this beer and still call it a beer, and so that's why I've coined the term, if you tried one hazy, you've tried all hazies, because after 4 ounces, they're all identical, regardless of hop bill, regardless of grain bill, regardless of yeast, regardless of process, or if they added lactose or not. Or it's a hazy. I've tried one hazy. I've tried every hazy. Now we're starting to get some stuff like this one, where it's still hazy. It's still that very acidic burn flavor, but they've dialed it way back. And now we're starting to get some hazies that actually start exploring the tropical flavors that are inside of that.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden we went from, let's make every single IPA 180 IBUs and add 17 different hops. that's kind of what hazies were, just on the how acidic can we possibly make this. Like,
Yeah.
some early hazies you can strip paint with.
Yeah, for sure.
and now we're starting to get into some more refined styles where, like I said, this is a delicious tropical pineapple margarita kind of style drink. I'm really digging it.
What's fun about IPAs is they've pumped the brakes on hoppiness. And again, it's like you've got hazies, but you also have even like imperial IPAs and stuff like that are coming down, and they're exploring other directions. So I'm all on board on IPAs, but I don't knock on anybody that isn't there yet, because we are still, I feel like, coming down from this period of, well, we put hops in them because we're going to India, and that's a long ways. What if we had to go even further, you know? Anyway.
Yep. We do have a super chat from Alan, 5 Canadian bucks, which I think is at least $2 American.
Technically correct, sir.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. Opinion on the new Windows 365 cloud-based Windows OS. That was just announced today. I haven't had a chance to dig too deep into it. I certainly have some opinions on it. My opinions are that virtualization in the cloud can definitely be a good thing. But remember, anything as a service is provided as a service. Good and bad. So software as a service, banking as a service, like your online banking that you do, that's banking as a service. If the bank site goes down, you can't bank. So yeah. Windows as a service, I think, could definitely work for some aspects. They're also talking about different ways to do GPU acceleration in the workload and then deliver latency free or as minimal latency as possible to end clients. And I think that's fantastic. That's kind of the pipe dream for what I've been shooting for with the cloud gaming server, is have access to a very powerful computer from thin clients that cost you maybe $100. Like I said, one of the best use cases I have is, gosh, this was 3 years ago now. My daughter built herself her first computer, and she loves the thing. She still plays on it. We've done a couple of little tweaks here and there to it, but it's still the same base computer that she built all the way back then. Well, now thanks to Parsec, she can have her gaming computer, and then she will take her school Chromebook over to her cousin's house, and she can play Minecraft as if she's sitting in front of her desktop computer and have access to her account and all of her skins and join the same servers and everything else and play as if she's sitting in front of a much more powerful, not Chromebook. And that's the pipe dream. That's what I'm trying to host myself. That's what I'm trying to gear some of my server stuff to, is that pipe dream. Some people don't want to host a server in their house, so hey, maybe a system in the cloud is for you.
Well, it opens up a whole new see, that's what I love, because I have a Chromebook and I love using it, well, especially because like my whole life is tied up in Google Drive, but but to be able to add functionality to it and to continue to be able to use it in ways that like maybe it wasn't initially designed to be used for, like, man, what a great idea, because I already love it. So take me there. Give me more options.
I'll just respond on air since you finished talking. Alan says, do you remember back in the 80s and 90s when schools and businesses had mainframes and machines were OS2 warp-based clients? Yes, in fact, I do. In fact, most public libraries, the clients that you would access to access card catalog systems and everything else, they were thin client terminal based. And so you would log into like a Windows NT4 based system, which was just a dumb thin client that cost maybe $150 or $200, and you would get a full desktop instance via host client access. I spent a good couple of years in my early IT career disassembling some of those systems. So, yeah. All right. We do have a sponsor in today's episode. Hopefully I will hit the right button. Today's video is brought to you by... Are you there? Is it going to play?
I'm here.
Maybe you're here. Oh, I'm glad you're here. Hold on.
Computer, play ad roll.
It doesn't want to. Where's...
Insufficient memory.
Dang it. It's there. I can see it. Why isn't it? There it goes. See the wonders of hosting your own server? Maybe you should host one in the cloud. And today's episode is brought to you by Linode. If you've ever wanted to host your own servers, whether it be for home or business, but don't have the resources or time to invest in hardware, power, cooling, or even space, or the frustration of like local files not loading, why not have Linode host them for you? If it runs on Linux, it'll run on Linode. That includes software from many of the tutorials you find on my channel, like how to run your own ad-blocking recursive DNS server, VPN gateways, your own cloud-based Plex server, and more. Linode makes it simple to deploy and manage your own cloud services, with solutions ranging from a single shared CPU to massive multi-core virtual machines. They even offer dedicated RTX 6000 GPUs for graphic rendering or machine learning. With shared CPU plans starting at as little as $5 per month and scaling up to as high as you need to go, you'll be able to find a hosting plan that fits your needs. Even if you do host your own servers, you can use Linode to keep a backup off-site, because remember, RAID is not a backup. Visit linode.com/craftcomputing and get a $100 60-day credit just for signing up for a new account. That's linode.com/craftcomputing, and thanks again to Linode for the perfect segue and for sponsoring today's video.
That was pretty good. It's almost like a quality service that one can get behind.
Exactly. I'm glad the video ended up working.
Yeah.
All right. Who's pinging me? Or was that pinging you? Me?
I've got no pings.
Okay. Okay, there's a ping. I see it. They're just chatting. Okay.
Thanks, Linode, for sponsoring my beer break in the middle of this show.
That's right.
They're always looking out.
By the way, the proceeds of the sponsorships do go to buy them beer. So
why do you think I buy the best?
That's right. Nothing but shoots, baby.
The other guys are wasting theirs on these high quality craft brews. Okay. But me, when I'm not drinking Deschutes, baby, I got cases, racks of Rainier in the fridge, just ready to go.
Today's episode is not brought to you by Rainier, although if they called us, I'm sure we could work something out.
Yeah, I'd be down. You know what? I'm going to fire off some emails after this.
Get my business services manager on that.
We drink the most Rainier of any tech YouTube show out there. Hands down.
You're not wrong. Collectively, we have drank the most Rainier of any tech show out here. You are not incorrect. You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
Yep. That's what you can expect from your number one, baby. Number 1 and 2.
And 2. That's right. Number 1 and 2 records and highest overall.
I don't even know how,
I know. It's weird. Or highest average, I guess. John's highest overall, but he cheats by being on twice as many.
Well, yeah. And it's close, though. Even then, it's like, I feel like it was pretty close.
Closer than it should be. Yeah. All right. Let's keep this ball rolling. Just a quick little note that Nintendo may have introduced the Switch OLED model, which is the least creative name they could possibly have come up with. They may have announced the new Switch OLED model, which doesn't release until October, and they seem to be dodging every question as to whether or not they have fixed the Joy-Con issues. For those not familiar with the Switch and the Joy-Con issues, otherwise known as JoyCon Drift, your old Nintendo 64 controller that after you've beaten the living crap out of it, playing Mario Party for 6 years, doing this kind of stuff, all of a sudden in its neutral position, it will start to veer one way or the other. Well, the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons pretty much do the same thing, but at a much faster rate of deterioration. It is a well-documented and much complained about issue, and Nintendo has barely even addressed that it exists, let alone done anything to fix it. So don't hold out any hope that Nintendo will be addressing that in an update for hardware anytime soon.
It's fine. Hasn't happened to me yet, so
mine are still rocking solid.
What is that? I feel like we've dodged a bullet.
Yeah, I've had my Switch for 3.5 years. Like, I was pretty early into the buying of one, and mine still works fine.
Yeah, I've had mine about maybe 2.5 years, and I play some aggressive games on there. Mm-hmm. Like, I've been playing some Hades, so I'm mashing the buttons. Not been easy on them. Still hanging in there, though.
Yep. Until I got my GPD Win 3, that was my mobile Rocket League machine.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah, I've done a lot of button mashing and, flipping directions on the controllers. And yeah.
Hanging in there.
Moving on to some security news. This one is definitely not the announcement that Ryan Reynolds probably wanted to make. Ryan Reynolds is a fairly large owner of Mint Mobile. But Mint Mobile has been hit by a fairly significant data breach in which malicious third-party actors got access likely to internal tools, ported numbers from subscribers over to other carriers, and stole data from them. Like, that's a whole nother level of access than you could possibly fathom. Also, in terrible news, the information that was accessed, so they ported the number. Mint Mobile also disclosed that an unauthorized person also potentially had access to subscribers' personal information, including call history, names, addresses, emails, and passwords, which means the passwords were likely not salted or hashed. So, if you are a Mint Mobile subscriber, please change your passwords. And Mint, for God's sakes, please encrypt your passwords from now on. No more plain text Excel files. Like, there is no reason in the world. Go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I hate to say this because saving money on your phone bill is a thing that comes up a lot over on my podcast's Discord server. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Mint people over there, and I feel for you all, but I've been saying it for years. You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it's unfortunate, but if there's not even the barest, steps taken to secure that type of information.
Yeah. This one hurts from an IT security infosec kind of perspective. This is not the news that anyone ever wants to read, or let alone have to divulge to customers. Sorry, your email address, home address, physical numbers, what plan you subscribe to, who you call, duration of calls, text messages, etc. Those are all out there now. So change your password, maybe? Yeah. That's a tough one.
Sorry, Mint. And Mint users, you deserve better.
I feel like I should pour out a half ounce of some aviation gin here.
Whoa, wouldn't go that far.
I'm not going to do it. I mean, if I pour it, it's going to go in a glass, but because it is some delicious gin. Hashtag
True.
Not sponsored, but Ryan Reynolds, we're open to collaborating. All right.
One of these days.
One of these days.
I'm sure he's watching, actually.
I'm sure he is. Yeah, I've had quite a few distinguished viewers on this show, so I'm sure the latest in beer and tech news really gets him jazzed.
Maybe. I mean, he's a part owner of Mint and a part owner of Aviation.
Yeah, Aviation, Oregon company.
See?
Yeah, I know he
he's
comes to Portland
diversifying
occasionally, so yeah.
You never know when that Deadpool money is going to stop rolling in, and you oughta diversify. So
at least it's not like Hugh Jackman and bought like a coffee field or something.
Yeah, what a fool.
Idiot.
But see, when the Wolverine money stops rolling in, Hugh Jackman at least can fall back on like, musical theater, Broadway maybe.
Yeah.
Man's got talent. Les Mis, anybody?
Les Mis.
Jean Valjean. It's pretty good.
Good stuff. Before we get into the next episode, I do have my next can to open. So beer number 2 is Max's Addiction. I keep wanting to say addition for some reason. Max's Addiction from Insertion Brewing, Omaha, Nebraska. Toffee Bar Milk Stout.
Sounds delish. Oh, love that coloring.
Yeah.
Love that consistency. Love that glass. Where'd you get that?
IKEA, actually.
Oh, the Swedes got everything.
I know.
I've got a cool beer glass.
Yeah, I bought this because I didn't have any cool 12-ounce glasses. All of my fancy ones were pints. So figured I needed to diversify my glass collection a little bit.
Just like Ryan Reynolds.
That's right. Okay, let's get into what hopefully shouldn't be a political topic, but I'm sure will be.
I'm sure there's nothing political here for any of our listeners.
There shouldn't be anything political about this. So this article comes from Bloomberg, and it is titled, Americans Must Reclaim Their Right to Repair. And if you have not read this article, I strongly suggest going and reading this article. Whether you're in favor of right to repair or not, which survey says the majority of people are in favor of right to repair, so long as they actually know what right to repair is and don't listen to well, your data could be exposed and hackers are working at every single corner shop and mom and pop repair store, if you listen to Apple, Amazon, or Google. So, we are a nation of tinkerers. My audience is an audience of tinkerers. Why do you think people build home labs? Why do you think a lot of my audience owns 3D printers? Why do you think I'm employed? It's because my audience works on their own stuff. I work on my own stuff, so long as Apple allows me. So this article is obviously come out because President Biden signed an executive order encouraging the FTC to strongly look at the right to repair. It is not an executive order saying every manufacturer has to comply from this day forth. That's not what this order was. This was an executive order saying to the FTC, you need to act on this. So nothing has changed other than manufacturers better start thinking about how they're going to implement this because changes are coming. The article starts out with the Apple II, Apple's first big product. And remember, the Apple computer was built by a couple of tinkerers in their garage in Silicon Valley and sold out of their garage via catalogs. And eventually became the largest company on the planet. So they went out and built components, engineered their own stuff, put it into a computer and sold it. Part of that is when you bought an Apple II, you got a circuit board diagram and full access to everything inside of it. You could modify to your heart's content. You could tinker, you could upgrade, you could tweak it however you wanted to. The hardware was yours. Contrast that to the Apple of today, which is more akin to hardware as a service, where I'm going to pay you $1,000 for a phone, or $1,000 for a computer, or more, $6,000 for a base model Mac Pro, which is a laughable spec sheet at this point. I'm going to pay you X amount of money for this hardware. However, I can only install Apple certified OEM direct parts that I can't access myself. I have to take it to an Apple authorized service center to install those parts for me. Gluing screens together with touch interfaces, integrating encryption chips that, in the guise of security and fingerprint access, means that if your fingerprint sensor ever dies, you can't replace the fingerprint sensor because the handshake between that and the T2 encryption chip will change, and your fingerprint sensor will be disabled. Make no mistake, there's good kinds of security and there's bad kinds of encryption under the guise of safety that simply make it more difficult for you to keep your old device. Apple pretty much thrives in the latter. And not to single Apple out, because this executive order certainly didn't single Apple out either. This executive order is pushing the FTC to end anti-competitive repair monopolies. Apple, the makers of other technology products, or Apple's and the maker of other technological products, from farm tractors to 35mm cameras, argue that repair monopolies are good for consumers.
Yeah.
According to the article. Hey,
Yeah.
Rhett, where's the nearest Samsung store?
No idea.
Where's the nearest Apple store? And I mean Apple store.
Portland.
Yep. It's a good hour and 10-minute drive from my house, at least. If
I ain't going up there for no repairs, that's for sure.
Right. Where's the nearest John Deere tractor supplier?
Don't know.
I do. There's one in Aurora, Oregon. It is
okay.
just
Not that bad.
just off the Donald exit, 277 or
There's
274.
some good spots up there.
There's some good spots up there. It's nice land, but that is
Go ahead and hit the Colony Inn, get lunch while you're up there.
Yeah,
It's gorgeous.
good place. But that's the nearest John Deere service center. It is Aurora, Oregon. I said, exit 274 off I-5. I know exactly where it's at.
I would say kind of the middle of nowhere, but it is on the freeway.
It's 2 miles off the freeway.
Yeah.
But let's say you own farmland out towards, I don't know, Turner or Jefferson or East Albany or Springfield, or let's go down the list of.
Are there no John Deeres in Eugene?
I'm sure there's one down there, and I'm sure there's the one here, and I'm sure there's nothing in between. Let's say you live in Corvallis, on the outskirts of Corvallis, and you.
Well, I'm sure they strategically put it there because it's centrally located, and that would sort of cut the difference between Portland and halfway to Eugene at least.
Right, but you know how our cars all have standardized diagnostic ports in the OBD2 port, and it's in the same location in every single car on the right side of the driver's compartment, where you can plug in a standardized reader and read trouble codes. You can buy a reader off Amazon for as little as $10 to sync with your phone and read and reset trouble codes. Now, also view live diagnostics of your car. That is mandated by the federal government as a requirement for all automakers to sell in the United States. Strangely enough, there's no same requirement for farm equipment. So John Deere tractor has proprietary diagnostic ports, proprietary information, and the only way to find out what's wrong with your combine, your tractor, your harvester, your whatever you happen to have, is by calling out a John Deere authorized service technician, having them plug in their laptop and telling you what's wrong.
Yeah.
You ever had a piece of farm equipment go bad in the middle of harvest season when 2 hours would cost you $30,000?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't, but I have friends who have.
Oh, we live in the area where it's common.
Yeah.
If you weren't dealing with it yourself, you knew somebody who was.
Yeah. I know hop harvests that have gone bad. I mean, I've been personally impacted by this.
Yeah. My IPAs were only half as bitter that year.
They turned them into hazies.
Yeah, and this is kind of where I roll my eyes a little bit when Microsoft 365 comes up, because we're talking about all of this, selling products as services type things. And John Deere capitalized on this, where you buy a John Deere product and you're not just buying the product, you're buying the service. You have a subscription. And for God knows, like farmers, it works me up a little bit because, when you were talking and you were reading the article, and you're talking about the Apple II at the beginning, it's like, remember growing up and everybody would talk about like, well, there's Jimmy. Jimmy loves taking things apart and putting them back together. Like, why don't you hear about that anymore?
I was Jimmy.
Well, sure. Yeah. And I think that there was a bunch of Jimmys in the audience for sure. And I'm not that much younger than you, just a little bit, but it's like, I kind of came up where I heard that a lot, but it like wasn't a thing that my friends were doing that often. And it's because like by time we were of an age to start taking things apart, it was kind of like, man, why would you take it apart? Like I remember going from like one side of my family was just like, you fixed everything you had until it was broken. And then the other side was like, oh, well, if the one button on the remote for the TV doesn't work, it's time to throw it out.
Right.
And this is like the product of a lot of freaking corporate propaganda and brainwashing, and this idea that none of us know, what do they lose if we open up their product? The level of triumph I felt the first time that I opened up a flat screen TV, my brother's flat screen TV went bad, and he said, I researched the problem, and I think it's like literally just a bad capacitor somewhere on the power board.
It's usually what it is.
Mother's Day is coming up. If you want to look at it, like, you fix it and you and I can sign it over to mom for Mother's Day. Okay, great. Well, I opened it up. Wow, it was very easy to tell which capacitor was bad. Did I know anything about this at the time? No. Took it off, took it to the electronic supply store, which was booming at the time, and which is now sadly a husk of its former self. And they got what I needed. They told me how to solder it in, and I was on my way. Brand new TV, basically.
Yeah.
And
what was this, like 5 years ago, something like that? What would that TV have cost you to go out and buy?
Right. It would have been, it would have been a couple $100, I would say like maybe $200 for that TV at the time.
Okay.
Like it was not like a bottom level TV, but
60-cent component.
Right. Oh God. Yeah. The guy was like, can I sell you a couple more? Like, you're buying on a debit card, I'm going to have to charge you like an extra $1 for the
right.
Like, I was like no. I guess I'll buy one more just in case I screw it up or something.
Right.
But
yeah. And that's the thing is I've done a lot of component level repair for things. I've recapped motherboards. I can't count how many G5 iMacs. I've done battery repairs for older Macs, G3s and whatnot. I can't count the number of board level, component level repairs that I've done, and they're not expensive parts.
No.
And if you think about even inside of cell phones, a camera module inside of a cell phone is like somewhere between $15 and $30. And that's buying it from a repair facility. Batteries are $15 worth of lithium. I mean, the things that we need that are
failing,
consumable or repairable, are things that we should be able to fix ourselves, are things that we should be able to buy replacement parts for. And that's what this gets to the crux of, is Apple should not be allowed to glue a phone shut. Tesla should not be allowed to. There was a great comparison. I don't remember where I saw it at, but when I was researching this for this week, there was a guy who ran over a rock in a Tesla. The undercarriage shielding didn't quite deflect the rock enough, and it pierced the coolant system for his battery. It pierced one of the hoses in the radiator or not even the hoses, but the metal piece of the radiator. Now, battery radiators on a Tesla are not like engine radiators. They're not having to displace thousands upon thousands of watts of power. They're simply just trying to keep lithium batteries cold or cooler. They're not displacing 450 Celsius worth of heat. Batteries don't get that hot. They're just trying to keep them from melting plastic.
They're more efficient when they're cooler, right?
They're more efficient when they're cooler, or when they're within a temperature range. If you get too cold, then they lose capacity. But yeah,
right.
Anyway, so the story goes, this guy took it into Tesla, and they said $16,000 for this repair, for literally a cracked radiator, and the guy couldn't believe it, and nor could I. Now, this was a brand new Model Y. This was $38,000 car. $16,000 to replace the cooling system for my, not even a motor, not even a battery, the radiator. $16,000.
My car isn't even worth. I bought my car brand new for less than $16,000.
Right.
It's not a Tesla, but
so the issue is that Tesla doesn't do component level repair. They repair the entire assembly of what that component is part of. And so to fix his issue, they would have to, number one, train their staff how to fix the issue, which who knows how long that would take and how much money and resources we'd have to put into that. But number two, they'd have to keep parts on hand. And God, we don't have the capacity for that. And number three, they wouldn't make a profit off the reinstall.
This is the biggest problem because the companies that are most responsible for this are like some of the most profitable in the entire world. And
and by the way, they would then probably fix the radiator that they pulled, the entire cooling system, and then sell it as a used part for like $12,000. Do you know what it costs to fix that part going to another independent repair shop?
I mean, I'm sure you could slap some freaking Flex Seal on it and call it a day.
It was $700. It was $700, and that's even kind of egregious for what the repair was. Basically, the guy cut the copper hose, put a joint and a flange on it, and then soldered in like another 1 foot of copper and hooked that up to the cooling system and went, "You're good to go." $700 versus $16,000. But who knows? They might have stolen all of that guy's personal data, and it's now on the black market. So
could be, and now Tesla's going after him for intellectual property crimes. This is why
Tesla hates rich rebuilds.
Oh, naturally,
they hate electrified garage.
This is the problem. I mean, you should be able to do whatever you want with the product that you own. It's not the company's anymore. There's a lot to be said about this, and it's all garbage. And even if you want to view it from the standard of like an ecological thing, like this is also good for the environment in a way, because already planned obsolescence is like at its worst than it's ever been. The last 10 years, we've produced more plastic than we have in the last 100.
Yeah.
And it's all because we're not fixing things. We're throwing them away and we're buying new. And yeah. Anyway, the point being is, support this EO and don't support billionaires, because once they get to a certain point, well, all billionaires, but once these corporations get to a certain point, it's like all they're worried about is their bottom line, and they got to answer to shareholders, and they got to answer to people that do not care about anything other than their quarterly reports. And whatever they got to do to make sure their quarterly reports are looking fine. And right now, the people that are buying Teslas, obviously there are more and more and more that are like us, watching this show, tuning in. But before, it was kind of like the first generation adopters that could afford kind of a luxury product.
Right. Before it was $80,000 for a Model S,
Right.
Now you can get a Model Y for like 32.
Yeah, they're coming down.
Or a Model 3, excuse me. Yeah. So the market is dropping, and as the market drops, there's people who can't afford $16,000 to replace a cracked radiator.
No. And, I will say, I'm guilty of having stand Elon Musk, but it's like, dude, like the fish rots from the head down. And like he's just as responsible for that 16K replacement as like any shareholder or any accountant or decision maker in that company. So you have a right to fix your stuff.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. You got a right to fix your stuff.
Yep.
I mean, just wait until the Gap starts. Like, you can't sew your clothes from the Gap because, and unfortunately, that's the way it's all going to go at a certain point. I mean, luckily, Gap is cheap enough. You just throw it away like everything else, right?
Yeah.
But
at least that's
not
biodegradable.
Right? Yeah, Anyway, good Lord, I'm getting worked up over it.
Yep.
There's nothing else to say.
Yeah.
This is good. This is good legislation. It could have went harder. Could have went harder. It's not even legislation. It's executive order. But
at the minute, it's up to the FTC to enact on this. So, and if they don't, see. I guarantee another one will be coming.
Yeah.
And that executive order might have teeth. So
hopefully. Okay.
Ideally, if it passes through voting through Congress, it'll be much harder to overturn than an executive order. And so that's why it's going this route. Instead of just saying executive order to overturn blah, 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 or enact this, because what's stopping the next president from simply overturning that executive order? That's the power of an executive order. But if you go through the voting process and the rigor of Congress and it's signed into law, that's a little tougher to do. So.
Well, remember when we had presidents that just like busted giant companies up into small pieces? And
I do.
it's like, come on, let's go back in time and start busting up some of these big companies. Apple doesn't need to have the death grip on the industry that they have. And, there's something to be said about what they're producing, but they're just as guilty as perpetuating anti-right to repair mindset and propaganda.
Apple is one of the main
exactly
naysayers of right.
Remember when you could like drop your cell phone and like the battery would accidentally pop out? Mm-hmm. Like now my cell phone doesn't even have any...
inconvenience that was.
Yeah, seriously. I'd take it back in a heartbeat. But it's like now like my cell phone doesn't even have any like visible like screws or anything. It's like you want to take it apart, you got to have a heat gun and a freaking scalpel basically. Which,
do you know the reason that we have waterproof or water resistant phones is an excuse so they could glue them together? It wasn't consumer focused. It was profit share focused.
Yeah. Oh, but look, now you have a waterproof thing. It's like,
right.
It wasn't really a big deal for me before, to be honest.
I wasn't constantly dropping my phone in the toilet.
No. I mean, it happens to everybody once and then never again,
Yep. All right. In another executive order, Biden signs executive order calling for restoration of net neutrality. Now, this is not, again, this is an urging to the FCC to reenact net neutrality, not a instant order that restores net neutrality. If you remember, what was that?
It was a few years ago, like
2018 2018. We talked about this. We've also talked about the fraud in the comment system. We've talked about pretty much everything behind the scenes I think that we could talk about with Ajit Pai and the comment system in there. But basically, this is an executive order. The president is encouraging the FCC to restore net neutrality rules undone by the prior administration. And again, I've talked about the survey. I've talked about that 88% of Americans who understood what net neutrality was were in favor of net neutrality, just like 88% of Americans are probably in favor of right to repair if they understand what right to repair actually means. I mean, back to the Apple right to repair, Apple saying people are stealing your data. Well, go back to episode 187 of Talking Heads, where Apple stole a customer's nude photos and posted them to Facebook. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Don't remember a private shop doing that on my watch. But yeah.
Because they would go out of business, you know what I mean? But
right.
like Apple can just like weather the blow.
Right.
Yeah.
They can pay a little hush money and an NDA, and off they go in their multi-trillion-dollar business. Meanwhile, you know, Joe Blow's repair shop, he's got to keep the doors open, which means not posting people's nude photos.
Oh yeah, and his worker that posts nude photos is like basically gonna get flogged. You know, not saying that that's a good thing, but like that's the level of like.
I'm down for the occasional public flogging.
For sure, but that's that's how you
bring
maintain...
back the stocks. I say.
Yeah, people get out of line way less. Yeah, but that's what you do when you're maintaining your reputation, you know, like when your entire industry or your livelihood is made or broken on the back of your reputation. Like one of your workers does that, like you're going to do what you can to rectify that wrong.
Yeah.
Apple doesn't care. This is the first time it happened publicly, not the first time it's ever happened. And it's not going to be the last time that it happens, let alone the last time it happens publicly again. Like, yeah. Anyway,
do have a couple super chats that I missed. First from American Cosworth, thank you so much, sir. $5. We are a nation of tinkerers. I resemble that statement. Most of my viewers do. Also, Kevin says hi. Hi, Kevin. And then we've got one from Steven Anderson, $5. Thank you, Steven. I have an X570 motherboard and a 1600 AF. Will it be able to run Windows 11? Yes. My bet is that Microsoft will backtrack a bit on the TPM stance, on the Trusted Platform module being a requirement. I think they are trying to get a closer control over security for enterprise sake. They're trying to do a little bit tighter integration if you happen to have a TPM chip. But my guess is that for non-enterprise environments, they're going to loosen that standard. And honestly, it kind of makes sense. I don't think there's any reason that a good number of home PCs need to be TPM protected. Because that's also not a silver bullet. It's just one of many things that can help protect a system. Kind of like Secure Boot. I don't think Secure Boot is a magic bullet. In fact, it's a hindrance when you want to install Linux. So, yeah, I think you're going to be just fine. I've installed Windows 11 on a couple PCs so far. No problem at all. I've ran it in virtualized environments. I've ran it on physical hardware. I think you're going to be all right. All right. Oh, someone's asking about your guitar?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the actual Gibson. I got a knockoff, so.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with a knockoff. No. It's all about how you play it. I can't play mine very well, so it looks nice in the background. Wine red, gold hardware. Yeah. Oh, super sexy.
I am not a lead guitar player. I am definitely a rhythm guitar player. I can do all right with rhythm guitar. But at my heart, I'm a bassist. So
there you go. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
I know what I'm about. Yeah. All right. Last bit of tech news. Netflix is going to try to build their own Google Stadia. We'll see how it does. Netflix has said they plan to offer video games as a streaming service as they push beyond films and TV shows. They've hired an executive from Facebook and EA that is very familiar with the electronic gaming industry, and said that as soon as next year, they will have games available to stream. Gosh, given the dozens of previous attempts from various different companies with just as much money, if not more than Netflix, I wish them the best of luck.
I do too. I gotta say, like, when you're thinking about streaming services, there isn't one that's in a better position to pull this off than Netflix, given the right resources and management.
Like we talk about someone that could be a YouTube competitor. There are so few companies that have the infrastructure, industry, and know-how and position in the market to be able to come up with a YouTube competitor. And pretty much that industry is Netflix and Pornhub. Yeah. They're the only two who could ever fathom coming out with something on that scale. And so until one of them decides to pull the trigger on it, we have YouTube. Well, there's also Vimeo or Justin TV or Twitch. Yeah. Twitch don't have no 3+ billion viewers.
No.
Right. Like literally half the globe watches YouTube. That's the infrastructure that you need to have in place already. There's other videos that half the globe watches as well, and they're Netflix and Pornhub. So
it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like you said, I wish them the best. I think it's an interesting endeavor, and they're already on so many devices as it is. And not only that, like if you just think about the ease of use and the the actual quality of service that you get from Netflix compared to like any other streaming service, they're the kings still. And their service has been sort of declining with the number of titles that they offer and things like that. But like their interface and their quality of service is still the best. It's better than HBO. It's better than Hulu.
Yeah, and we've talked about, the watering down of streaming services because everyone has to have their own streaming service now because why pay the middleman? And EA learning the hard way that it's not so easy to run a service as large as Steam. And all of a sudden, all EA games are back on Steam 3 years later.
Good.
Because no one bought Origin. I certainly stopped buying EA because I didn't want another games launcher on my PC. I've never bought a Uplay title. I've never bought an Origin title. So just is what it is.
I did get Origin on my PC once when I was trying to get Battlefield 2142 digitally because I had the CDs and I wanted to play it, and all the servers were basically dead. And it was the best Battlefield game ever. And I stand behind that.
Yep.
Well, Battlefield Bad Company 2 is pretty good as well, but it's still played a lot. I just played it the other day. Holds up. Anyway, good luck, Netflix. Cheers.
Yeah. Godspeed. All right, we do have some beer news in the pipeline tonight. Starting with one that made me that kind of reaction. Coors Light has made a beer out of the actual ice from the Stanley Cup playoffs. So for those who don't know, the Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup last week. And while Tampa Bay was on the way to Montreal to face the Canadiens in the Stanley Cup final, Coors Light was busy scraping the ice off the Tampa Bay's home ice so they could transport it back to Boulder, Colorado, or Golden, Colorado, excuse me, and brew, what is it called? Champion Ice limited edition of Coors Light. So they do say they filtered the ice, which means they scraped the ice, they melted it, they ran it through a Brita filter, and then they put it into a beer. Go Lightning.
Is the Stanley Cup made of ice?
No, they scraped the ice off the rink.
Oh,
the ice they skated on.
That's horrible. It's got all this like sweat, probably some spit in it.
They said they filtered it.
Yeah. Would you drink it? Not the beer. I mean, obviously you got to like boil it for beer and stuff, but like,
yeah, I mean, it's been sterilized. So
I don't know, man. They say the life straw, you can like drink literal pee and get only water, but would you drink only pee with a life straw?
Depends on what the situation was. and how many beers I had had to flesh it out before that. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there's a particular ABV content that I might make the wrong decision there. But
Naturally. Well, hey, while we got a lull here, I brought up my second drink, and I was going to open another beer. I had a Voodoo Ranger Hazy that I was going to open, but I also let a glass of wine warm up and breathe here. So I've got an Old Vine Zinfandel, a 2018 Old Vine Zinfandel from Windstorm Wines down in Lodi, California. So it's freaking delicious. It's really good.
I think Cosworth was asking, when are we going to have a Wine Wednesday? And it's like, you know what? We need to do a Wine Wednesday one of these days.
I'm here. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I said whenever I feel like drinking a whole bottle of wine in 2 days, because yeah, my wife is not that much of a wine drinker, and like I have wine bottles. I have some wines, but I only open them when friends come over, and well, that hasn't happened in like 2 years.
Well, maybe it needs to be the next time you and I can get together for a live face-to-face show. We can share a bottle.
I think so. I think we crack a bottle next time. It'll be Wine Wednesday.
I was going to say that honestly, like maybe I'm a bit of a dork when it comes to wines, but I don't care if it sits for a few more days. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I've had wine that's like pretty good even after like 4 or 5 days in the bottle. You just kind of recork it a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And
I do have we have the flavor or the sealer system. Gosh. The vacuum system. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have one of the vacuum systems, and I have bottle corks for that. And so I can pump the air out. That's not a problem.
You're all good. Well, even then, I feel like sometimes there's some bottles you open up and you're like,
Some of them you got to let breathe anyway.
And you let them breathe and you let them age for a day or two, and they're actually like even better. It like smooths out. Like if they're too bold, or maybe they're just like too, I don't know, too bitey with the alcohol. Yep. You let it breathe for a day or two, and it's even better. Mellows out.
Now people are yelling at me for which bottle they want me to open. Because remember, I have the Klingon blood wine. I've got I've got the Picard Zinfandel. I've got 2 Special Reserve Federation bottles.
Nice.
Yeah. And I've got some other stuff too, but yeah, those are like the collector's items that I have. So,
well, that's pretty cool. Makes it hard to open if they're collector's items, Jeff.
It does, but why? I feel kind of the same way about wine and alcohol and things like that I do about cars. There's no point in collecting cars if you're never going to put it on the road. Cars should be driven. Oh, yeah. Which is why I love Jay Leno, because he actually goes out and he'll bomb the freeway in a car.
That's why you like watching comedians in cars getting coffee.
That's right. That's exactly right. Is because they're actually driving the car.
It's kind of fun too, because like Jerry, you know, he's like, hey, I'm gonna like pair this car to the person that's coming to hang out with me. Like that's kind of a fun little shtick, you know?
Have you seen Tim Allen and Jay Leno, in which Jay Leno puts Tim Allen into a car blindfolded, and he has to guess the make, model, and year of a car based on sitting in the passenger seat?
No.
It's amazing.
Is Tim Allen good at that?
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Tim Allen
would be the guy that is. Yeah.
You're questioning Detroit's native son and how good he is at recognizing cars. He went 3 for 3 in the challenge. Wow. But and he had some obscure crap in there. Jay Leno sits him down, and then they get on the highway, and he goes, "Well, it sounds French." And he goes, "Well, why do you say that?" And he goes, "Well, you know, a GM V8 of this era," and went on like that. This one sound. I'm going to say Opel. And he goes, "Yeah." It's like, holy crap.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, I would watch 100 episodes of that, of just Tim Allen guessing cars.
See, I just always kind of imagine that scene in Gone in 60 Seconds with Nicolas Cage. He walks into his old like mentor's workshop, and he's like, "Oh, that's a blah, blah, blah," you know? And I was like, oh man, they're just like playing up this for Hollywood, you know?
Yeah.
But like apparently Tim Allen can do it.
No, there's people out there who can do it. I'm okay. I'm a motorhead I've owned a lot of cars. I've not owned a lot of classic cars, but I enjoy them. I very much enjoy them.
I mean, my first car is pretty close to being technically classified as a classic now.
My Z car is 3 years away. I can get historic plates on it.
How old does it have to be a classic?
20 years.
Only 20?
Only
Okay,
20.
well, shoot then. I just sold a class. I sold 2 classics the other day. Or not the other day, over the last couple months. My motorcycle, though, that's the oldest thing I have, and it's 40 years old. It's 41 years old this year.
Wow.
Yeah. Still going strong.
Yep.
I got it. It's a Honda Nighthawk.
Oh yeah.
CM 450.
Okay, yeah. I was going to ask if you had the 450 or the 750, but yeah.
I went with the 450. Well, and I was going to say because I was scared of anything bigger, but the truth is that it's because I bought it for $300.
That's an awesome deal.
On Craigslist. The poor old lady, she's like, it won't run, and my son won't come back and get it. And I was like, oh, okay. Just a bad battery. Good to go.
That's a good deal.
Yeah. Super sick bike.
I love finding those deals.
Yeah. I felt bad because the lady was like, it won't start. And I just rolled it down her driveway and dropped the clutch, started right up. Yeah.
Started right up, running strong.
It's just like, okay. Sorry.
Oh, David Spade's beat up 87 Buick Grand National with Jay Leno. I've seen that one too. That's a good one. All right, we're opening our third brew, and then we're going to get on with the rest of the news. So we gotta. Indeed Brewing, the Queen. This is a whiskey barrel-aged imperial stout at 10.5%, and holy crap, that's dark.
Oh, that looks like motor oil.
Yep. I love it when they pour like this.
I love it.
And you're like, I should have changed the oil like 2 months ago.
Novella Hub sent that?
Novella Hub sent this one, yeah.
What a boss.
I know.
What a boss.
Like, dude. It's going to be a good one.
Novella Hub gets hashtag baller status.
Always. All right. Some more beer news. Dogfish Head has released its first ice cream, and yes, it's alcoholic.
Naturally.
Yep. So Häagen-Dazs has their line of booze-infused ice cream, which I've actually never had, but step over Häagen-Dazs, Dogfish Head is storming on with their own brand of ice cream called the Hazy O.
Speaking of
hazies, yeah, the hazy craze knows no bounds. Just like the 7.1% ABV brew. It's an ice cream made with oat milk, making it a dairy-free frozen treat. The ice cream clocks itself at around 5% ABV, which actually for an ice cream could be quite dangerous.
I could see that being a problem. Have you ever just made a homemade beer float?
Yes.
I'm talking you take the lid off the carton and you put some beer in there. Mm-hmm. You get going, put some more beer.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
Yes.
It's better than it has any right to be. First place I ever had a beer float was Red Robin of all places. 10 years ago, probably.
Was that the Blue Moon beer float?
Yeah.
John and I did a Hops and Brews episode in which I recreated that recipe.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Yes. No, I had a beer float at Red Robin. It was the Blue Moon float. And I went, this is delicious. I need to figure out how to recreate this. And so I found a couple close recipes online and then kind of modified them together. Yeah. And what I ended up with was dynamite. It was so good.
Nice.
But a little splash of orange liqueur and a full scoop of vanilla ice cream and a Blue Moon and a couple of it was good.
I dig it. Oh, yeah, I love it. And in fact, you get a good quality ice cream and you mix it with some Blue Moon, you're good to go. Blue Moon is like an ice cream beer as it is, for God's sake.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, hey, get yourself out there and get yourself some Dogfish Head's Hazy-O beer.
Hazy-O. Hazy IPA in ice cream form.
Sounds delish.
Excuse me. That snuck up out of nowhere, as most things tend to sneak up. All right. And I know people are playing the all right drinking game. So,
are they? Is that a thing?
I'm sure it is. I'm sure some people have figured that. I don't know any transition words, so I just say all right. All right, moving right along. Well, that was a brutal 2 minutes. Let's jump into this one. As a Twitter post pointed out, there's not much worse in the world than finding out your job is in jeopardy. How about finding out your job is in jeopardy and then having that live streamed to viewers and then having that live stream sponsored by Bud Light? So basically what happened is there is an esports team called the Counter Logic Gaming. And they were founded in 2010, originally as, you guessed it, League of Legends players. Anyway, they were recently purchased by MSG Sports, which is a very large conglomerate for purchasing professional and semi-professional sports teams. And they reached out and purchased them as an esports team.
MSG, they've fielded some of the teams, I think, for Dota, Counter-Strike.
Yeah, MSG is a pretty major player in the esports game anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, so CLG hit a couple of hard months and took a couple of losses and whatnot. And much like happens when you get to the professional sports realm, so think of like your basketball, your football, something like that. If we don't start winning, we're going to have to make some changes to our lineup. I don't know that U5 will be starting together anymore. So if that was a basketball team and these were professional athletes, that kind of makes sense. But you have that conversation behind closed doors. One of the things that you don't do as a coach or an organization or a general manager is come out to the media and go, yeah, I just don't know if Rajon Rondo can play with Chris Paul anymore. I mean, that's just not going to work. We've got to shuffle up the starting five, and one of them's got to go. Like, that's not a conversation you have with the media, right? Even when there have been documentaries or reality TV around sports franchises, they're not having those conversations in front of the reality TV. It's, oh, so-and-so's been traded because we got offered this thing and we're all really heartbroken about it. And I need a minute, guys. Like, that's the trade on Friday Night Lights or, what's the one with the NFL? I forget. Anyway, no, what this was a private meeting with ownership and the players. And they essentially said, this is the last time that you five will be playing together because you're not producing. So now, to be fair, these players are professional players. They're being paid a salary to produce. Now, they're not being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to produce, but,
how much do you need when your job is to be good at esports?
I don't know.
And most of the time, these big esports teams, your salary includes room and board. It includes food. It includes, because your job is to live in a house with your 5 teammates and grind all day.
Right.
Like, at least, I don't know how it works necessarily with League of Legends or whatever these guys play, but that's how it works with Dota. And that's how it worked with Counter-Strike. Mm-hmm. When I was an esports writer, like 7 years ago, one of the teams that I covered, they lived together, and you get a cook that comes in. They cook for you. They do all this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you don't have to make much money, but
right,
like to dangle that in front of them
for essentially what is reality TV is what they were trying to produce,
and not even good reality TV.
Right. So basically, it was tweeted out Where is the original tweet? Trying to find the language that they used. Oh, here it is. The text of the original tweet and the video, which has now since been deleted. This might be the last time we have this roster of 5 playing. On the at Bud Light Gaming cooldown, we take you behind the scenes of a private team meeting. Hashtag LCS. Hashtag CLG fighting. Yeah. So the video starts out with this kind of weird, moody music, and it shows this private meeting, and then brought to you by the crisp, cool taste of Bud Light. Ride the Walrus. Red will get that reference.
Will I, though? Ride the Walrus? Feels like an Ambien commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong? What's the Walrus?
Well, I said it on your podcast, so.
Oh, great. I guess we all have to go back. Well, hey, guys, go to GameDevsQuest.com.
/ episode 7.
No, it was like episode 21 or something.
Okay,
I posted this before.
Yeah. Anyway, look for the one with some guy named Jeff, because I wasn't even craft computing yet.
No, not quite.
I was in the startup process, but at the time I was just some dude who likes VR.
I said that it was going to be episode 20 something. It's actually episode 16 and 16.5.
I'm closest without going over.
That's pretty, yeah, fair enough. Dang.
That's all right. I talked so much you cut it into 2 parts and said you just need to like talk forever.
Yeah, it was good.
Why don't you just talk for a living?
Episode 2 is 1 hour exactly, and episode 1 is 1 hour and 12 minutes.
Like I said. And Talking Heads was born.
I probably could have let you go longer, but that was like one of the first times that I had brought Taylor. We had done it face to face because we had done remote.
Show, right.
And the whole point was about experiencing VR and things like this. And he had gone and ruined it by doing VR the day before, earlier that morning or something.
What a prick. Taylor,
I know.
Shame on you.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Oh, wait, that might not be it. But anyway, it's close.
Anyway,
yeah, it has to be.
So
doesn't matter.
So yeah, CLG has since apologized, saying that this morning we published a short post-game video giving a look behind the scenes at our current situation. Our goal was to share an authentic moment with our fans and be transparent as possible leading up to potential changes that may occur this week. We recognize the negative light that this brings that it brings to our players, and for that we apologize and have taken down the video. Notice they didn't apologize for the conduct. They simply apologized for letting people see it. Oh, and having it hashtag sponsored. Yeah. So.
Gosh. Silly publicity stunt.
Yep. And last bit of news for the day is you've seen and played Super Mario Bros. 3 on multiple different platforms, all of them owned by Nintendo. I bet you've never seen Super Mario Bros. 3 with an id logo at the bottom. If you don't know that logo, that's the logo that became id Software, developers of Doom, and later purchased Bethesda, and yeah.
Went on
to bigger and better things. Anyway, this is a demo from 1990 of id Software, which is Ideas from the Deep, porting Super Mario Bros. 3 from the Nintendo to the PC.
Amazing.
And it's very recognizable, but at the same time also very different. Yeah, the sprites, they move in a different way. The physics are completely different. The motions and controls are I guess different, where now to be clear, this was not anywhere close to a final. This was like a 1 week like pitch to Nintendo. Here's what it could look like on the PC.
Yeah, it's like a prototype.
Right. And so when you get the raccoon leaf and turn into to Raccoon Mario, you can simply just fly. There's no P speed or run to. There's no run animation or speed. There's walking and there's flying, and there's no in between.
That's how it should have been. Nintendo dropped the ball.
Yeah. So, like I said, very recognizable, but at the same time, oh so foreign in this bizarro land of what could have been. Anyway, this demo was known to have existed, and in fact, John Romero posted a video back in 2015 about the project and had a couple of very, very short pieces of gameplay from it. So we knew this was in existence, but the existence that we had at that time was a floppy disk that was handwritten. Apparently, this floppy disk actually had like a printed label and logo on it. So this might have been like a final build that they gave to Nintendo. So this build is now in the hands of a museum that is going to be physically and digitally archiving it for future generations, game researchers to be able to look at. No word yet on if it'll hit something like archive.org or something like that, but I would say give it time, and it probably will. But the Museum of Play is the museum in question. They say our preservation work focuses not only on research needs of today, but how researchers decades from now, some who may not even be born yet, will access material. Yeah, they're going to be essentially curating it for right now. And if you want to request access to this for research, they will grant you access to this. So kind of cool.
That is cool.
Bit of lost gaming history there of two very large companies in a what might have been fantasy.
Dope. Cool. What an actually feel-good story for once on this show.
Right? We're not just talking, the fact that right to repair and net neutrality is being stomped on. We're here to make you feel good, too.
For sure.
Novella Hub says, thanks for the choice of the Firestone Walker Old Manhattan Ale 2019 tonight. It was fantastic. Yeah, so the Old Manhattan, me and John and Steve have a very mixed relationship with that particular beer. This is a beer from Firestone Walker, and it is inspired by the Manhattan cocktail. And in fact, John and I also have a Hops and Brews video about making a Manhattan and tasting it with the Old Manhattan beer. And that video didn't go so well, because the day before, we had opened one of John's 2 bottles of Old Manhattan, and me, John, and Steve had tried it out in his garage, and it was, for lack of better words, freaking delicious. There were the just the right notes of vermouth and this real deep, rich flavor in it. A little bit of spicy notes on the end. It's like it was everything that you could imagine a beer transformed into a whiskey vermouth cocktail could possibly taste like in the best way. And we're like, we have to make a video of this. And so John and I did a Talking Heads episode. And then immediately after, we filmed a review of the Old Manhattan where I made Manhattans. And we opened the beer and we took a sip of it, and both of us immediately looked at each other, went, that's not the beer we had yesterday. Same bottle, bought from the same store at the same time, 2 wildly different taste profiles. The second beer was not good. So I'm glad that yours was at least acceptable, if not delicious. And by your report, it was fantastic. So awesome. I'm hoping we just got a bad bottle and not that there's a bunch of bad bottles floating around. So that does it for the news tonight. We've got 15 minutes left, 15, 20-ish. I guess the floor is now open for anyone who would like to drop a comment, ask a question,
talk about Elder Scrolls lore, or whatever. You know,
you're like Stephen Colbert when it comes to Lord of the Rings.
I got some Lord of the Rings lore too, if y'all want to talk.
Oh, I know you do.
A little rusty, but I think I can muddle through.
I can hang, right?
I can hang. Yeah, I like that.
Let's see. How was the Queen from Indeed Brewing? Definitely whiskey. It is definitely whiskey aged. Hold on, let me give it a proper.
Stir that bad boy up. Stir that bad girl up, because it's the Queen.
Very rich, in almost like a root beer style rich, like a good old fashioned sarsaparilla kind of rich.
Nice.
Where it's very thick and it's very chocolatey. It's very dark chocolate, or a dark chocolate forward beer. And I'm not tasting really elements of like oak or coffee or roastiness or anything like that. It's not a very complex barrel-aged beer, which is a little bit perplexing to me. But the right notes are poking their way through. And like I said, it's very dark chocolate, and that's the majority of that flavor profile. Finishes a little bit dry, which is kind of counter to the opening, which is a very thick, hearty beer. And then you've got this aftertaste of, it's not smoke, it's not malt, but there's something that reminds me there of whiskey, where it's like, it's there. It's not barging into the room and exploding, but it's definitely there. Definitely a good one. I'm enjoying this.
So it's not like a Rebel coffee beer?
Definitely not. Stay tuned for that review. Harley asks, best way to ship a beer? Whale pods. Order yourself a whale pod. They are boxes that you can buy that are pre-packaged with foam, meant to hold whatever quantity of beer you would like to ship. And if you ship beer, pretty much every shipping company, it is against their terms of service. So pre-weigh it, make your own shipping label, and seal the box, and then simply drop it off at the shipping organization. So you can ship USPS, FedEx, or USPS. I've had the best results, I think, shipping beer with FedEx, although that changes year to year. So right now it's FedEx is what I would recommend. But simply package it beforehand, drop it off, and let it go. But seriously, get yourself a whale pod, because I've had a couple of sploded beers that have arrived in cardboard boxes that are bubble wrapped. I've never had a damaged beer inside of a whale pod. It's definitely the way to go.
And feel free to ship me beer. You know, I got the same address as Jeff.
Yep. If you mark something for Rhett or for John or for Steve, they will receive those beers. Most of the time unopened.
Shout out to John J. He's the only one that's ever shipped me beer. So
John J., you the man. Right after Novilla Hub. Matt asks, can you talk about what your use case was for the HP server you featured this week? Is it a secret? I want to do some stuff with TrueNAS Scale, and I wanted a box that I could add some hard drives with and just play around with TrueNAS Scale. So that's going to be the end game, although I'm taking a couple tangents before that. I'm going to add a graphics card to it. Probably see what it can do with that, and explore vGPU a little bit more now that it's unlocked and working, and go from there. Daniel wants to know, how do you record videos and not glare not glare on your glasses from your monitor? Getting all the angles just right. So if I move my head all around, right about there, you can start to see one of my lights. But all of my lights are at direct angles where they will not reflect into the camera. And so they're positioned in a way that are opposing to me, but not complementary angles to the camera. And it takes some finagling, but I've usually got a pretty good handle on it. Yeah, that's the best I can answer is, if your camera is facing right here, don't put a light at a 45. It has to be greater or narrower than that. And that goes for vertical space too, because right now I have a light that's right here, like directly above, and it's a spotlight. That's my key light. But it is about 15 degrees off tilt from that, and also about 30 degrees up. So avoid 90s and 45s, and you're probably good to go.
It also helps if you just have 20/20 and you don't have to wear glasses.
Right.
See, I don't have the best lighting in here, and see, perfect. It's not an issue anymore.
Right.
And look how evenly lit you are. It's like, you know what you're doing. See, Jeff gave me some lights, but unfortunately, as it stands in the moment, I just don't have the room to use them with the way I'm set up. That will change. So, for now, I just got this sweet, desk lamp over here. It's just shining right on me. It's a little bit above the camera, about parallel, good to go. Just don't have glasses. It would be an issue if I had them, I'm sure. Look, now it's reflecting off my eyes.
Yeah, there you go.
Stupid, but oh well.
And DevelopHub recommends using UPS to ship and pack in whale pods. And like I said, the best advice I can give you is package it before, seal the box shut, put the label on it yourself, and then just drop it off, because they will never question that. If you go there and you have them weigh it and they handle it and they go, so what are you shipping today? Is it anything fragile, breakable, blah, blah, blah? And you go, well, I'm shipping some not beer to a friend of mine. And they're like, well, we can't ship beer, and you'll be denied. So.
Extra shout out to Novella Hub, because secretly he got that comment in before you even mentioned whale pods the first time. So
bravo. I
got it. I wasn't going to say it, but since it came up again, he said it before you.
All right.
Also, he says that you're sharing some dragon's milk with me. So
I will be sharing some dragon's milk.
Finally.
I got not only dragon's milk. I saw a pack of 8 that's coming our way. That's some of the reserve stuff. Have you ever had a dragon's milk special reserve?
No.
I've had 2 of them, I want to say. I've had the white dragon and I've had the chai. But he's got some stuff coming our way.
Finally, our friendship pays for itself. I mean, it has never before now, not even once. I can't think of a single instance in which it's paid, but now it does, thanks to
It's a phenomenal
Hub.
Camera and computer that you happen to be using right now, which happens to be company property.
That's fine. It's stamped right on the front of it. I can't sell it. Big bold letters, Craft Computing. And I tried. I did. They sent it. The eBay buyers sent it back.
Let's see. I've been using your guide for vGPU, and it's been working great with my GTX 1060. Thank you for posting that. You are very welcome. Been using Scale for a while, and it's been a good experience so far. Yeah. So thank you for that. I am so glad the vGPU video is doing well, and that people are actually able to use it. Like that was a 2-week process. I didn't post a video for 2 weeks because I was working on that video for 2 weeks.
Can we talk about how involved that was for a moment?
Good. Yes. Let's talk about how involved that particular video was.
Like, first of all, so, Jeff tells me, he's like, hey, I got this video. It needs to be edited. Looking for like this day. No problem. We can do it, right?
Got it.
I didn't even look at it yet. I was like, yeah, no. Getting pretty good at turning these things around.
Yeah.
And I open it up, and he's like, well, it's going to be like a 25-minute video, which is pretty crazy, right? Which is like, his last video was 25 minutes. So let that tell you what's up. Yeah. It's like, and that was a fast video to edit. So I opened this one up, and I can't remember. I think it was Epos Vox on Twitter the other day posted like, "You ever like working on a video and you scroll out on your whole timeline and like regret it?" And I was like, "That was the story of my life for like 2 weeks." Where, Jeff is every day like, "Hey, how's this going?" I'm like, "Okay, like this is where I'm at." And so I think I put 12 hours of editing into it, and that's not even factoring like what Jeff put into it after me.
Yeah, so Rhett would edit and he'd go like, "I'm done for the night," and it's like, "Okay, I'll put in a couple hours." And I would go through and polish a couple of scenes up, and I would do some more rough cutting, and then it's like, "Okay, I got to tap out because I got to keep working on something else now." And so Rhett, can I just say you are an absolute trooper for that video, because holy crap. And
then the technical issues that we kept coming up against too.
Yeah.
It was like constant server crashes and things. It's like,
so Rhett edits on a virtual machine in my server stack, and it's passed through with a Quadro P620. So it's a Pascal based GPU, 4 gigabytes of RAM, but it's only a GP107. It's definitely not the best video editing card.
It's been working. It worked today.
It's been working flawlessly for months. And but I think this video was just, it was punching above its weight class. And so the virtual machine would constantly just hard lock, where Parsec would die and Windows stopped responding and all network traffic stopped. Like I couldn't even ping the machine locally when it crashed. And so the way we had it set up originally was the P620 passed through PCI Express. I had 16 gigs of RAM and 8 CPU cores. And this is a 2667 V2. Like it's not a slouch as far as CPU performance goes. And he kept crashing and he kept crashing. And I went, "I'm going to give you some more memory." I'm like, "Well, how much do I have available?" I have 128 gigs in that server, and this is one of the only things on it. Tell you what, I'm going to give you like 64 gigs of RAM. I'm going to give you half the memory of my entire virtual server. He still crashed it. So to finish that video, not only did Rhett have to spend like 16 hours of his own time, or of time doing it, plus me throwing in probably at least 6 into it. In the end, I had to end up giving him Parsec access to my editing rig, which is my 5950X 3090 and 128 gigs of RAM. That's what that video took to edit.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I just like, not only was it so crazy at my day job, and I would be like, "Okay, Jeff, like I'm gonna work on this now. Like kiddo's going to bed," and like, I'd be working on it until like midnight or whatever, and like, okay, VM crash. Okay, Jeff, it crashed. Let me know when you got it up. And he'd text me like 5 a.m. like, "All right, it's up.
Yep.
Okay, time to get it in 2 hours
Go
before
at it
I
again.
gotta go to work."
Yep.
Like, oh, it's so stressful, but like the end result was just so worth it, in my opinion.
It was such a good video.
Yeah.
That one is definitely one that I am so incredibly proud to have made. It's definitely the most work I've ever had go into a video as far as scripting and preparation and making sure that, like, I've done tutorials before and I try to be so exact for my tutorials so even a beginner could make their way through. The subject matter we were in this one is not beginner subject matter. There is a crap ton that can go wrong through this entire process. And in fact, I had something go wrong, which took me 4 days to solve. And that was the getting through git clone or downloading a zip and unzipping. That took me literally between 3 and 4 days to track down. And you will not believe how pissed off I was when I finally got it to work and realized that was the issue. Because my script up to that point was rock solid. Every other piece of my script that I had written worked. And for some reason, when I went to put everything together and run the vGPU unlock script, it would like half be active and then half also not be active. But then when I went, there's no difference in these two files, but I'm just going to copy the old script because the old script worked and it freaking worked. It's like,
I love it.
I did that at like 6 o'clock one evening and I literally went, it works. I turned off the computer. I went upstairs and I went to bed. That's how I finished the day. I went, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
It works. I'm done. I'm going to bed. Good night. And I went to bed.
Good. Yeah, that was one of those. That was one of those whole weeks, and I remember interrupting you to come and get some desk legs of all thing while you were filming, and I was like, "Dang, you're still filming? Jeez, like,
what the hell's wrong with you?"
Well, and
shouldn't this one be done? By the way, I also had to film that video twice.
Yeah, and that I remember that. So
I had 3 hours of raw footage twice on that one.
You had more than 3 hours the second go around.
Yeah,
you had over 4 hours of footage that I went through. Well, I didn't get through it. Well, I guess I did get through all of it.
Got through it.
But that was, you're like, it's a 25-minute video. So do you give you guys, I think that 25-minute video must have dropped by now. Mm-hmm. There's another one that's 25 minutes. That was a server video. That was 25 minutes.
Yeah, that was yesterday. Yeah.
That was like 24, 25 minutes, somewhere in there. Yeah. And he had like maybe like 90 minutes to 2 hours at most. I think it was about 90 of raw footage. You can throw like B-roll in there if you want to, but it was a 90-minute shoot for A-roll. Like if we're talking like A-roll footage, it was like 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And that was a 25-minute. The other one he had was like 4 hours and 12 minutes. And I just remember being like, what? How did he think this is 20? You know,
did he leave the camera on for 2 hours? Because I've done that before.
That would have been a welcome. That would have been a welcome sight.
Yeah.
But no, it was great. I'm super glad it's over with. And I am holding my breath until the next time. But the one that Jeff sent me today, well, he sent it to me the other day. It's like, oh God, this is going to be an easy one. And Jeff, literally the first thing he says is, I'm going to make this a quick one. I'm like, oh, thank God.
The last one that you edited, wasn't that like only like 45 minutes of raw footage? Like I flew through that one.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was like an hour.
45 to an hour. Yeah.
Yeah. Not counting B-roll, but B-roll doesn't really factor in, you know.
Right.
You just look at it, you're like, this goes here.
I need 12 seconds of this. I need 16 seconds of that. Yeah. So my most recent shoot was, I will say, under an hour, and that'll probably end up being an 11-12 minute video.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's somewhere in there. It is a little shorter. At first I was like, geez, are you gonna be able to monetize this? It's like by the time I was cutting everything out, I was like, oh boy. But no, I think if you factor.
Why do you think I do those lengthy beer reviews at the end of some videos?
Yeah, the beer review. Plus, you did like 2 beer reviews this time, so
don't spoil it.
Well, I gotta give the true Talking Heads fans
a
little bit to go on.
Holy crap! That is the worst beer I have ever opened on this channel.
He had me laughing. You know, we got 106 viewers, so these are the true fans here.
Yes.
He had me laughing harder than almost any other video. And like, there's such minor things that Jeff does that gets me going sometimes. But he cracked his beer open right at the beginning before he said anything, before he did his intro, and he couldn't do it. And God, I was laughing so hard because I'd never seen him have a reaction like that before.
And I've had some pretty good reactions to some pretty bad beers or beers that I disliked. This was beyond that. This was just straight up foul.
He gave it a real go. So I gotta applaud him for that. I don't know if I would have poured it out. I probably would have just muscled through personally, but you know.
No, you wouldn't. I'll give you one. I want to see it.
Okay.
I want to see you muscle through all of 11 ounces of that crap.
I'll give it a go. Who knows? I'll give you that it was probably much more foul than came across on camera. But
oh man, my description of it, of like gas station ish, dead on.
Well, and what's funny about that too? You're describing the gas station coffee, and I was like, well, I like that, and you're like, and look, even I like that occasionally.
Right?
I was like, okay, we're in trouble now.
Right. Yeah, I have this thing where it is definitely not my daily coffee, but you ever pull up to a gas station and the only coffee they have is in a pot, and you know the pot's about a week old, and instead they have like those instant machines which dump like half a cup of powder in and then fill it with boiling water. If I'm on a trip, I love that kind of coffee.
Oh yeah,
it's sweet, it's syrupy, it's just like, it's like Mountain Dew but warm. but like, scalding hot. And it's like, oh, that's exactly what I need at like
It's got to be served at 195 degrees
at like 3 a.m. when I'm redlining it to Sacramento. Like that's the coffee I want right now.
Oh yeah. Pretty sure we had some of that at CES.
Yeah. I like that kind of coffee sometimes. I have to be in the mood for it, but sometimes.
Yeah. That's a running joke. My in one of my podcasts is my AM PM coffee punch card.
Yes.
I live for the punch card because I drank so much AM PM coffee at the time. And
given what your job was, yeah.
Right, exactly. It's just like, any place I could go, it's like gonna be an AM PM. And then I was doing
it's open 2 a.m. where I can get coffee right now.
Exactly. Yep. And they usually had like deli food at that time or stuff like, so it's like it was always a good bet.
Yeah.
And the place I recorded my podcast was usually early in the morning, and it was across the street from an AM PM. So like, yeah, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get some coffee.
At a pizza pocket and maybe a 2-hour-old sandwich. Like,
yeah, and the sandwiches are what really
you're gonna judge me.
Exactly. The sandwiches are what drew the most jokes, but like they were good. I looked forward to it and enjoyed it. So yeah.
GI Pilot says road trip coffee is the best. It's 11 p.m. I'm 3 hours from home. I can make it.
Yeah. I've almost never stopped.
That coffee.
I've never stopped when I'm 3 hours from home. That's like I can't stop territory. That's like I gotta pee, but like if I stop now, I just erased my whole day's worth of drive.
Right.
Which is a silly mindset to have when you're driving all day. But
right. I've done 16 hours in a single sitting before. Like the only thing you stop for is gas.
Yeah.
And you pee at the gas station or you don't pee.
My profession is renowned for pee jugs, so
yeah,
I've definitely perfected peeing in a jug while driving. I don't have to do it much often anymore, thank God. But yeah, I've definitely done the trips where you only stop when you're on E.
Yeah.
Well, or before. I mean, depending on where you are. Geez, that's a big place,
Yeah.
There's a lot of stretches without gas stations for a while, but yeah, I've definitely done those trips before. And 3 hours is like, okay, I'm basically home. Why stop?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oregon's a big state, let me tell you.
Oh, God. I've had a few. Yeah. I drove back from, I went out to Moab, Utah once in one trip. And
on purpose?
Yeah, like, I mean, it wasn't my wish to go there,
right.
But I ended up in Moab, Utah, and literally drove out there. Client pulled the plug on the money and, okay, drive back. So I drove back in one stop except for gas. It was crazy. And that was a miserable drive. But I remember like stopping for gas, like, I don't know, somewhere east of the Dalles, because I had to pump it myself at the time. They had just passed the law where like they didn't need it. So I pumped it myself. I used
if your
the bathroom.
County is less than 40,000 people, you have to pump it yourself.
Yeah. And
by the way, that's a thing in Oregon. We don't pump our own gas unless your county is literally too small to facilitate attendance.
Even then, I think that's kind of a lame excuse, because they can definitely get attendance. But anyway, that's a whole other bag of worms. Yeah. But I remember, and I bought a fountain drink pop there, and I looked at it, and I walked up to my car, and I took one drink from it and dropped it in the trash can. I was like, nope, I gotta get home. And oh God, it was the worst.
You're doing this car keys in one hand, fountain drink in the other.
Yeah, exactly. I just remember thinking like, I gotta just get all the way home. So, and I did. I got home at like 2:30 in the morning. But Matt Welch, read as an Amazon delivery driver. No, but I did. I don't anymore. I did a lot of driving for like 5 years.
Yep. Drove
the worst car of all time, but got to listen to a lot of music and podcasts. So
Oregon is still in the 70s for pumping gas.
Everybody knocks on it. Look, I'm gonna say this. I like not having to pump my own gas.
I do.
It's fine.
I do. Right.
You can sit in your car, you make small chat with a guy, you go on with your life. Everybody acts like it's like some third world oppressive country.
Can't even pump your own gas. Look, listen, in Oregon in the wintertime, we're famous for 33 and raining and like sideways rain. And two things happen. Number one, we're employing like 3 people that otherwise wouldn't have jobs.
And they make full minimum wage, like not that that's like a killer thing right now, but it's like they're making money.
But Oregon passed $12.50 and $15 minimum wage depending on the size of your county. And so
there you go.
If you're in Salem or Portland or Eugene or somewhere like that, you're making $15 an hour to pump gas.
And I know I can guarantee you some of these like small service station guys, like we got in my hometown, like they might be making that. They might be making more.
Yeah.
And everybody knocks on it. But like, here's the thing, man. How many times have I been in a suit or something? And I don't want to get out. I don't want to dirty my hand. I don't no, I want to sit in my car. I want to get on with my life.
Right. Number 2, I don't have to get out of my car and smell like gas for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful.
And some of the people, like, man, you live in a small town or you live in a small, like, you go to the same place, you get your gas, you do these types of things, you make small talk with the people just like you would at your local convenience store, anything like that. You actually come to like these people. It's like, I don't know, man. Everybody knocks on it and they look at Oregon like, oh, you're oppressed. Can't pump. I don't want to pump my own gas.
I don't
want to. I
like the convenience of not. Number 1, our gas prices aren't any higher than California or Washington. They're not.
And they're not even close.
Right.
Not even close.
And we still have like full service stations that when you go and get your gas.
Can you check my tires? Can you check my oil?
They also check your oil, your air pressure, and they wash your windows for you. And you slip them a couple of bucks and whatnot,
you call it a day.
And you call it a day. And it's wonderful. I don't even have to get out of my car. I can sit there and browse Twitter.
Yeah.
It's great.
At the service station in my hometown, they explained it to me, because I used to do the whole tipping thing. And they said, if you're getting a full tank of gas, it pays for itself. You don't have to tip. So you go out of your way to get gas, or not out of your way, but it's like you're in a small town. It's like you may as well get it there. It might cost you a little bit extra because you're kind of in a small town.
Yeah.
Dude, pay the extra 5, 6, 7 cents a gallon and freaking get your oil checked, get your tires checked, get your windows washed, and move on with your life. For God's sake, everybody's out here acting like I'm a real man because I can pump my own gas. Like, first of all, if that's your metric of what manhood is, like, you ought to go ahead.
False masculinity. All of a sudden, we're into that. Yeah.
That's always what it boils down to, though. You know, and it's like anytime it comes up, people are always talking about like, I'm more free or I'm more of a man. It's like, yeah, man, but like it feels good to have people do stuff for you.
Novella Hub wants to know, do they even let you fill a container of gas for your lawnmower? You can fill your own gas jugs and you can fill your own motorcycle. And you can pump your own diesel. So if you have a diesel truck, you can fill your own diesel. But gasoline, if you're in a consumer motor vehicle or commercial motor vehicle, you're required to have an attendant pump the gas for you.
Yeah. By law, if you're in a county. Yeah, I do too. And everybody always acts like, it's like, dude, okay, first of all, like I do a lot of business in Washington and Idaho. I pump my own gas a lot. I also drive a 41-year-old motorcycle. I pump my own gas a lot. You're not better than me.
Right.
In fact, this is a stupid debate and you're stupid for having it.
And by the way, I still know how to do it. And I changed my own oil on my own cars. So...
Okay, whoa. Okay,
yeah.
I'm kidding. See, I could do it on all my old cars.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was that much more of a man than you are.
Well, see, the 2 cars I just sold, I always change my own oil. It's cheaper. But my current car, or one of my current cars, my wife's car, I can't even reach the oil filter myself. So like, I just take it in because at that point, it's like, it probably cost me like $15 of labor on top of all the oil. So it's like, eh.
I will say, I suddenly have to turn in my man card because my truck, I never once changed the oil on my own truck. I always took it to either the dealership or the local place.
Yeah.
Because I had a skid plate on my truck. And the oil filter is directly above the skid plate, and when you opened the oil dump valve, it liked to dump directly onto the rear of the skid plate and then like kind of fan out. And so it was always a pain in the ass and always this huge giant mess. Nissan Frontier 2013. And so no matter how you change the oil and where you change the oil, you're always going to get oil just like everywhere. Unless you happen to be a shop. And so I always took my truck in to be serviced somewhere else because they can make a mess of their place and not mine.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes them half the time. Like they've been doing it all day.
Uh-huh.
Like, come on. It's fine. There's no man card associated with working on your own car if you don't have the time. I have a freaking gardener, for God's sake. I pay a gardener to come and mow my lawn. Did I lose my man card? No. I
hate yard work.
Yeah, it sucks.
I haven't mowed a lawn in 5 years, and I could not be more proud of that fact.
Exactly. It sucks. I work 60 hours a week if you count editing videos for Jeff. Like, you know, I don't have the time. I don't care.
Getting craft computing started. I worked between 40 and 50 hours a week at my regular job. And then I put usually at least 30 hours into craft computing. And so when was I going to mow my lawn? And number one, I don't like mowing my lawn anyway. I'm not a guy who enjoys the smell of fresh cut grass, even though I enjoy a good IPA. I know that's kind of weird, and we talk about lawnmower beers all the time. I would rather drink a beer watching someone mow my lawn.
For sure.
And so we had some neighbors, and they had a lawn care guy. And I'm like, you know what? I'm at the point in my life I can afford a lawn care guy. How much do they charge? And they were like $100 a month. We'll mow your lawn for you every week. I went, done.
That's a great price. My guy's $100 a month, and he comes out twice a month. So
right.
It's like,
so we bought our new house, and we immediately asked our neighbors, who do you use for lawn care? And 3 of them answered, oh, we use this guy. And so I said, well, shoot, we'll ring him up. And so we called him, and he goes, yeah, I'm familiar with the property. I worked it before and whatnot. I said, okay, what do you charge? And he goes, that one, it was about $45 each visit. And we usually had to do that one twice a month. I went, done. $90 a month.
Oh,
right.
Oh.
Like, it's less to do my house here than it was at my last house. And I have like 4 times the yard here. So anyway, we got into summer in our first house and whatnot. And it's like, you know what? This place needs a little bit more maintenance. Like, our trees need trimmed, our bushes need done, whatnot. Like, how much is it to like bring you out every week? Like, will you give me an hour every week? They said, yeah, we'll give you the same price. So 106 and even cut me a discount. So it's like $160 a month. And I don't have to lift a finger, and my yard looks amazing.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And next year, I'm hiring a pool guy. I'm not doing this either. Like,
listen to you now. If you want to make sure I never have to lift a finger in my yard again, please think about joining the Patreon or Float Plane. Links are down in the video description, and they'll also keep the lights on around here and help keep content coming to you. And it is 10:20, so I think it is time to call this one a show. This has been episode 192 of Talking Heads. You can see us every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time right here on YouTube for the latest in beer and tech news. Rhett, do you have anything to pimp for game devs?
Nothing to pimp. We're on hiatus, but you can still check us out at GameDevsQuest.com. Episode 16.5, Jeff comes on to talk about virtual reality games. Go check that out. Go check out the other ones if you're interested at all in making your own games. Otherwise, you can follow me at Red is Awesome on Twitter for, you know, all my daily shenanigans.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now you're trying to steal my line. Follow me on Twitter at Craft Computing to keep up with daily shenanigans. Not quite like this, but similar. And if you like the content you see, drop this video a like, subscribe to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already. And as always, we will see you, same bat time, same bat channel, next Wednesday.
Cheers, y'all.
Later, everyone.